Hello everybody, EQA Nostalgia here with my second discussion on EverQuest Next Landmark. So as we've started to get closer to EverQuest Next Landmark actually reaching its beta date, its alpha beta and its closed beta date, there's been a lot of really good information coming out. And actually the first thing I want to say is that Dave Georgeson has told everybody that the Founders Packs have been going really well. The Trailblazer Pack is actually the most popular one, and that's the one that goes for $99.99, so that's very good news. There's a lot of enthusiasm towards this game, and it's just really looking like it's going to be an awesome launch. As I stated in my previous video, February 28th, 2014 is the latest they expect Alpha to launch. They did say that it might launch earlier than that though, so keep an eye out. They've also stated that they expect 2 wipes to take place before the game is officially launched. The first wipe is going to take place between Alpha and Closed Beta, and the second wipe is going to take place between Closed and Open Beta. They also went on to detail that those are 2 different kinds of wipes, and one is going to be more of a hard reset, and the other one's going to be a little bit of a lighter wipe. Now, apparently, the first wipe, you're going to lose all the things that you've collected and the progress that you've made, like maybe achievements and things like that. Things like resources and your claims, you're going to lose those. Now, apparently, you're not going to lose anything that you've templated or built, so I don't think anybody has to worry about losing something that they built. Like, say you spent several hours building a castle, you probably get to carry that over. I'm not 100% on that because the way that they said it was a little odd, like they put templated before it. So I'm not 100%, but it appears that you're going to be able to keep things that you build. Now for the second wipe that I mentioned, the one that happens between closed and open beta, it's going to be more of a soft wipe like I said. You're only going to lose your character progression in your claims. And the final thing to mention about all of this is that you're not going to lose anything that you paid for. So let's say you bought the Trailblazer pack. You won't lose any of that stuff. Anything that you've paid cash for is not going to be going anywhere. Now another thing I wanted to mention was the Founder's Pickaxe because I wasn't entirely certain how this functioned and I just found out. So first of all, the pickaxe does not break, it doesn't degrade over time, so that's one of the very nice things about it. And the second thing about it that's really cool is it's actually a multi-tool. It's a pick and it's an axe in one. Now the pick itself is actually going to be the top tier 1 pick, which means that there's going to be 5 different tiers, and within the tier 1, it's going to be the best one for tier 1. Now, the axe, on the other hand, is going to be a tier 5 axe, and it's going to be the least of the tier 5 axes. So it'll be able to gather any type of wood in the game, but it's not going to be able to do it as quickly as a higher tier 5 axe. So it's still going to be a very nice item, just not very quick. So even though you do have this pickaxe that is really cool, it's nice to start off with, it's not going to be the best one in the game. It's not going to be the best pick or the best axe in the game. It's just going to give you a little bit of a leg up, which is really nice. One of the things I'm not certain about is if you can actually upgrade the Founder's Pickaxe, like maybe get some materials and increase the tiers to make them better. I'm not certain about that, but there is certainly going to be incentive to go out and get better axes and better picks. So very nice item to start out with because when you first start in EverQuest Next Landmark, you're not going to start off with anything really fancy. You're just going to have a standard pick. And I don't think you're going to start off with an axe. You're probably going to have to gather the materials to actually build the first axe. Now, I'm not certain if you can actually just walk up to a tree and start punching it like you could in Minecraft. I have no idea how that's going to function. So that'll be really interesting to see if when you start off a bunch of people running around, karate chopping trees. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to mention was races in EverQuest Next Landmark. They did say that you're going to start off as only a human, but they did also go on to say that they may add other races. They weren't sure. They're not leaning one way or the other, but they might add other races. I mean, in my opinion, it really doesn't matter because the focus is going to be on building. There is going to actually be combat in Landmark, though, and I wasn't certain about that. But they did go on to mention that they're going to start adding combat. Now, that's not going to be in alpha or even closed beta. They said that it's going to come later, so once the game has been out for a little while, they'll probably start to add things like that in patches. Now, I'm going to actually have a discussion video up about the combat in Landmark because I think it's something that's worth talking about a little bit more in detail. It's not going to be a very long video, but I just want to discuss a little bit of that with you guys. Okay, so moving right along, what are we going to be taking with us from EverQuest Next Landmark into EverQuest Next? Now, they already said that the Adventure class is going to carry over, so I assume that whatever combat skills you may acquire during your time in Landmark will carry over. I'm assuming that achievements are going to carry over as well and stuff like that. Now, in terms of resources, I don't think any of that's going to carry over in EverQuest Next, and I don't think anything that you built, be it tools or structures, will carry over. Now, they did say that they would be looking at certain structures and incorporating them into the game, But that's kind of like a competition, like a contest. If you win and you happen to have the nicest structure, then that might get ported over into one of the main structures in EverQuest Next. But I wouldn't count on building a house or something like that and having it transfer over. I don't see that happening, and I'm pretty certain they said that that would not be the case. But that's perfectly fine with me. When I play EverQuest Next, I do want it to be separate. I want to be able to start over and just kind of start from scratch. Another thing that they mentioned is when EverQuest Next does go live, they're not going to just abandon EverQuest Next Landmark. Those servers are still going to be up, and that game's going to be running for a long, long time. Okay, so on a side note, they did mention that the Founders Packs are actually going to be giftable pretty soon because the holiday season is upon us once again. So you will be able to actually give those out for gifts. Now, they didn't specify a date, but I'm sure it's coming pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Now, I know some of you guys are probably on the fence with the Founders Pack, but you can actually upgrade. So let's say you've only got $20 right now and you want to make sure you get an unlimited closed beta. Don't be afraid to buy that Settlers Pack because you can upgrade to the Explorers Pack and so on and so forth with the Trailblazer Pack. You can do that, and they made it really easy for you to transition and make payments that way. Now, at this point of the video, I want to talk about how the game is actually going to function. So your main building tool in EverQuest Next Landmark is called the voxel brush, and you can actually change the size of the voxels that you place with the mouse wheel. So you can place some very small voxels, little tiny blocks, to medium to very big size blocks. And obviously they also have a delete tool, which is really nifty in this game because if let's say you place a really big block and then you want to make a smaller brush like a tiny block, you can actually put like little indentations inside the bigger blocks by deleting certain sections of that block. And you can get really creative with this because they showed in the gameplay video this guy was building a castle and he was able to take out big wedges of the block sections and actually make these little notches on the sides of the castle, which is really nice. And one of the cooler things that you can do is you can actually take chunks of the ground out and stuff like that. You can delete pieces of the terrain to mold around. Like let's say you want to build a moat. You can totally do that. You can just delete a whole big section of ground. Now, one of the coolest tools that they had was the healing brush. I'd never seen anything quite like it. Let's say you dig up a bunch of terrain and you realize you made a mistake and you want to bring it back. You can actually heal the land back to the way it was before. You can also do the same thing with the blocks that you've placed. You can actually heal the blocks away and get rid of those that way. And then you have the smoothing tool, which is also really awesome and completely unique to EverQuest Next Landmark. Now, the smoothing tool itself comes in two different shapes. You've got the block shape and you've got the spherical shape. And then you can actually adjust the size of it. So you can adjust it down to a really small voxel or a really big one and just kind of smooth off smaller structures. Like if you want to get really precise, you can just use the smaller ones. And then if you've got like a really big project, like say you got like a huge wall you want to smooth, you can make it really big. And a couple of other nice options they have is the undo function where you can undo the things that you've done and you can copy and paste stuff that you've done. Now, I can see this copy and paste function being really awesome, something that's just saves so much time. Like, say you want to put up 4 walls, and you don't want to have to worry about counting how many blocks it is and all that. You just copy it, spin it and drop it, and you're good to go. Another thing they showed is that the stuff that you put down, you can actually increase the size of it or decrease the size of it. These tools look incredibly powerful. They look like they're going to save a lot of time instead of just going around placing one block and another block. It's just going to be so much faster and easier. And then you have the painting tool, which is also really awesome. I mean, let's say you go ahead and you build something out of cobblestone, and then later along you decide you want it to be made out of gold. Instead of having to build it over, you could just paint over it with gold, and then that completely changes the structure. So you don't have to go and rebuild it, you just can reskin it, and it's really awesome. And you can also use it for things like putting moss on the side of rocks to make it look like it's been there for a long time. I mean, you can get really creative with it. You can change the way houses look. You can put down a house, and then if maybe later you'll decide you want the roof to be made out of straw, you can go ahead and do that. And now they were also careful to mention that you're not just painting, you're actually transforming. So like I said, if you took that granite block and you wanted to make it out of gold, you're not going to just be painting the gold onto it. You're going to be making that whole block into gold. And also, let's say you go ahead and you do that and you paint something all gold and you decide later you want to tear it down. You do get your resources back, so you're not going to lose anything. And then you've got the line tool, which is the last tool that they showed. The line tool is really nice for making angles, and it's a simpler way to throw down angles without having to make everything so blocky. So yeah, the more I see, the more exciting it is. All these tools look very powerful. They weren't lying about that. They look very powerful and very easy to use. I forgot to mention they do have one more tool called the Select Brush. Now this one's a little bit more difficult to explain to you guys without showing you how it works, but you can basically just make like a rectangle or any kind of size that you want and just kind of click and drag to deform it, like make it really long or really tall, and then you can use whatever structure you want to fill it out with, like maybe granite blocks or gold or something like that. So that's going to be another time saver because when you can just grab the corners of something and stretch it out, you don't have to lay the blocks down to make it. Now, this tool can be used with the delete tool and several other tools to place things and delete things really quickly and very easily. Now, one of the examples they gave for how this tool works is they built like this really big column and then they just hollowed it out with a single click. So in Minecraft, let's say you wanted to build a huge structure and you wanted to make it out of blocks and you just built this huge block and then you just started picking through it and hollowing it out. You don't have to do that in Landmark. You can just choose to delete the inside and completely gut it out. Now they also have a prop system that you can utilize to drop down props, things like chests and trees and stuff like that. And they are going to update those regularly. They said they would put things, if people show an interest in say like sci-fi stuff, they'll upload more sci-fi props and stuff like that. And obviously you can rotate the props, you can make them smaller, you can make them bigger, but one of the things about the props that's worth noting is that you can't just use a prop. You have to actually have the blueprint for that prop, and then you have to have the resources to create that prop. So like I said, very powerful tools, very easy to use tools, and they're going to save time so that you can actually focus on the details of what you're building. You don't have to go through and do all the monotonous placing blocks here and picking through blocks there. You make what you want quickly, and then like I said, you focus on the details and making it better. So that's about it for this discussion, guys. That's pretty much all the information that's out there right now. And like I said months ago when they first unveiled EverQuest Next and Landmark, I am going to continue to bring you guys coverage. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't done that already. Leave a comment and a like, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.